Okay, so let's get right into this, guys. Attorney Walter Hnot, the most viewed and subscribed to Social Security disability attorney in America. I work for Disability Resolution PA, and today what we're going into is a really interesting thing that's happening. Now, as you know, there's a lot of shifts going on with Social Security benefits, and specifically, the Democrats are trying to save face with essentially a not-so-good past 4 years of making big changes when it comes at the congressional level to helping people out who are on retirement, disability benefits, etc. Now, they had a really good run with Commissioner Martin O'Malley. They had a pretty damn good run with Commissioner Kijakazi. But the thing is this, Commissioner Martin O'Malley is now stepping down. He's looking at alternative jobs because if he stays in, he gets fired by Trump. That's just what's going to happen. Now, real quick, David did an amazing donation before the video even started, a $49.99 donation with a amazing little pair dancing around and jumping up and down the city, which I super appreciate. Those donations help me continue to make these videos because I just don't make that much doing disability law. It is frankly, when people are like, well, you make more than me, and I'm like, dude, you're on SSI. I've owned a law firm for over 11 years. It's not supposed to be that kind of comparison, but it is very frustrating on my end with how this industry works. And those donations definitely help me continue to make these videos and keep me rolling. Now, there was a moment where basically, and this is recent, this was like yesterday, we had some senators, House reps, etc., congressional people do a begging letter to essentially the Senate in general, Senate Majority Leader and Senate Minority Leader. I'm going to read to you the article, and then we're going to go specifically into what the letter states. Here we go. Spanberger, Graves, Brown, Collins urge U.S. Senate leadership to bring Social Security Fairness Act to the floor to eliminate the WEP and GPO. Now, you guys know what that is. Basically, government people who had, earnings where they get some sort of pension somewhere else, and they're trying to get their Social Security, retirement benefits as well as the maximum amount they can get. Well, these particular congressional leaders are trying to make sure that government employees are taken care of. And the reason why is they get to benefit from this, and all the people they worked with get to benefit from this. Let's read it real quick so you guys kind of have an understanding exactly what's going on. The bipartisan bicameral Social Security Fairness Act, which passed in the U.S. House on Tuesday, would eliminate two provisions of the Social Security Act that unfairly reduce benefits for more than 2 million Americans, mostly government workers, a small amount of civil type workers, who have devoted much of all of their careers to public service. Okay. The following, the bipartisan bicameral Social Security Fairness Act passage in the U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Representative Abigail Spanberger, Democrat, Virginia, Garrett Graves, Republican, Louisiana, and U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown, who we're going to lose because he didn't win his reelection, which sucks. He was like the most Social Security-oriented, Democrat senator. Out of all of them, he was like the most hurrah when it comes to, even more than Bernie Sanders. Like everybody thinks Bernie Sanders like the ultimate ultra liberal. He's not. When it comes to Social Security benefits, Sherrod Brown was like the go-to senator. The kicker with this is that he actually was unseated recently, and will be soon rather, because the reality is things swung so left, so extreme hard left. Massive immigration, destruction of the petrodollar, U.S. currency not being catered to, that people just can't afford food. And they're a little bit pissed off with how far the woke thing went. So next one, Susan Collins, Republican, Maine. Although she's very Democrat oriented with a lot of her rulings, but still anybody that they can get to increase SSI benefits, SSDI benefits, retirement benefits, disabled child benefits, widows, spousal, etc. Anyone we can get to boost these benefits, it's a win because people can't live. With this massive inflation, devaluation of the dollar, people can't live on Social Security benefits like they used to. These are the legislation sponsors urge U.S. Senate leadership to follow suit and bring their legislation up for a vote as swiftly as possible. On Tuesday, a bipartisan majority of the U.S. House voted to pass the Social Security Fairness Act, bipartisan legislation, and they had over 300 co-sponsors. This was Democrats and Republicans were on board. That's because they're all part of the same group that's going to benefit from this. So when you're like, oh, why did they do such a shitty job of making sure the dollar was well taken care of and that food is cheap, and yet vote themselves an increase in their yearly wages? Same kind of gig. They're voting themselves an increase through Social Security benefits when they have other pensions through other places as well. Okay, so here we go. These two provisions, which were added to the Social Security Act in 1983, which is the GPO and the WEP, unfairly reduce or eliminate earned Social Security benefits for more than 2.5 million Americans who've devoted their careers to public service, including police officers, firefighters, teachers, and federal, state, and local government employees. In a letter sent to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, the lawmakers urged U.S. Senate leaders to bring their Social Security Fairness Act up for a vote before the end of this Congress. So what they're saying is they want a vote because they are worried that if Trump gets in, this thing ain't going to go to vote. Or if it does go to vote and Trump passes it, then it will, to be fair, to just be realistic, be the biggest Social Security, congressional change, much bigger than anything Biden was able to do. So as a result of that, they don't want Trump to get the flowers and the glow and the wow of actually achieving something like this. Now, the bill's leaders also underscored the broad bipartisan coalition of lawmakers who have backed the legislation, including a filibuster-proof majority in the U.S. Senate. Additionally, the lawmakers made clear how the WEP and the GPO hurt the millions of Americans who have had their Social Security benefits slashed for more than 40 years. And then another question that nobody really talks about, but I think it's incredibly important, is will this open up an arena option for lawsuits to occur for people who were unjustly reduced in the benefits they could have gotten, And then, of course, it becomes, Social Security benefits are just a tax, and then they'll argue, but it was an unfair tax because of ABCD, and it's basically unconstitutional. And then there might be a much larger suit. And that larger suit would probably help you guys because it would establish higher federal law when it comes to what you can get away with when suing the government related to Social Security benefits. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read to you specifically the letter so that you have it here. I want you to go ahead and see ahead of time, a cutesy little one-pager right here. They try to keep it on one page, considering what it is. This is the letter that was sent to the Senate majority and minority leaders, basically begging them to get this thing passed while Biden was still in office, even though some of the people that wrote this letter were Republicans. Let's get through it real quick. Dear Majority Leader Schumer and Minority Leader McConnell, on Tuesday evening, the U.S. House of Representatives voted with an overwhelming bipartisan majority of 327 members to pass the Social Security Fairness Act to repeal the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset. We urge you to follow suit and bring the bill for a vote in the U.S. Senate as swiftly as possible, with broad bipartisan support among a filibuster-proof majority of 61 senators who lead or co-sponsor the bill. We must finish the job now. Now, obviously, just to be fair, you don't need as many senators, obviously, in the House of Reps. But the bottom line is that's a lot. That's a lot of people that are on board with this. Now, here's the deal. For decades, our nation's public servants have implored us to listen to their stories and to take congressional action to correct the glaring injustices of the WEP and the GPO. The WEP unfairly slashes the hard-earned benefits of Americans who both paid into Social Security and worked in the public sector throughout their careers. These public servants, retired firefighters who worked a second job, retired police officers who began a second career after leaving the force, retired teachers who took a summer job to pay the bills, retired federal employees who first worked in the private sector are receiving a fraction of their earned retirement benefits. The GPO cuts or often altogether eliminates Social Security survivor benefits for retirees who dedicated their entire careers to serving our communities simply for choosing careers of service. These Americans are being punished for supporting and protecting our neighbors and families, educating our children, providing healthcare to our veterans, delivering our mail, and more. Social Security short-term solvency should not be propped up by the stolen benefits of these retirees, benefits they have long been owed and will never get back. This week, the U.S. House of Representatives listened and passed the Social Security Fairness Act. Now, the U.S. Senate must follow suit. For the first time in history, you have the opportunity to bring this bill across the finish line. We urge you, on behalf of the nearly 2.5 million retirees impacted by the WEP and GPO in every state across the nation, to bring the Social Security Fairness Act, H.R. 82, before the U.S. Senate for a vote. Thank you for your commitment to America's public servants and retirees. We look forward to working with you to send this important legislation to the president's desk to be signed into law. Now, here's the kicker. This act, in the state of a bill, will go in front of senators. Senators like helping government employees. They like helping sheriffs, police, because, when they get pulled over and they're drinking, blah, 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 you know what I mean? That stuff gets passed down the line. If anybody ever tells you, oh, wait a minute, hey, well, everybody's equal under the law and blah, blah, blah. That's cute. You can read that in a pop-up book. I'm sure you'll enjoy the dragon part. But the bottom line is that's bullshit. Not everybody has the law applied similarly to them. Okay. If you've ever gone through the Supreme Court rulings and looked at the appellate courts and how this all came out, you will see that, some people, they get hard justice. Some people don't ever see the softest part of a pillow's side of justice. So the reality of this situation is that they are trying to get this thing passed during the Biden era. Now, why do they call it the Unfairness Act? The reality is that when they go to do some other field, right, these were created and actually promoted, supported, voted for by the House, the Senate, signed by the president. These were all applauded back in the 80s and 70s. So now they're saying, well, now they're unfair. The reality is that they give a boost to government employees. The fairness was put in place. Now this will give them a boost as a comparison model. So is it unfair? Look, so here's the thing. We tend to always give benefits or the benefit of the way or the benefit of the doubt to veterans, government employees, stuff like that. This is not uncommon. Very rarely do we hold them to the same line as other people. So, for example, you in 1983, 1977 saw Congress because the Social Security Trust Fund was about to run out. I don't know if you guys realize that. This is not the first time the Social Security Trust Fund was about to hit the fan. It was about to hit the fan in the 1980s, specifically 83, 84-ish. Technically it was 83, and it was just months before it was all going to collapse. They wrote this. They made these rules to make them more fair so that those, recipients of all these other pensions and stuff, but didn't have as much paid into Social Security, wouldn't get the benefit of being considered on the poverty scale because they worked, less of that job in that system. Because remember, one of the big arguments with the WEP is that it's a very, very progressive program. The people who pay a lot get totally effed over. The people who pay in middle class get totally effed over. But the poor, they get such a good deal. That's like our taxes too, right? The middle class gets totally effed over, and the rich are now so smart about it that they're always just taking out debt and putting debt in their name and borrowing against their debt. And then when they sell it, it's worth vastly more. So they're always in profit, and they don't care because they've got a profit that they just pay taxes on, and they got more money out of the deal anyways. So the rich get out of the bad deal. The middle class, they're the ones who have to follow the rules. They get screwed over left and right. So the point I'm getting at with this particular situation is that technically they made it fair in the 1977-1983 arena. But now they're saying, let's make it a little more favorable to government individuals, government pension, receiving individuals, because they want to support government employees having more careers than just in government. And here's why. They're smart. They know what's going on. What's happening is this, okay? The government, as you know, doesn't pay enough money on a month-to-month basis, payroll, for most government employees. It's not enough money to be able to survive. People ask me well, with Biden's inflation, it would have been worse under Trump. And I'm like, how? How would it have been worse under Trump? Well, because and then we go into this roundabout whatever. The inflation makes it so that the standard of living for the middle class and the upper class gets worse. But the poor, the impoverished, the homeless, it completely destroys their network of people that would help them. See, a lot of people don't realize why the Biden era was not so good for the homeless / super low income who are receiving some sort of Social Security benefit or fighting to get one. The reason it was so bad was that they relied on people, right, the homeless, the low income, to give them stuff, right, to give them things that, essentially, let's call it like it is. You get a homeless person, right? They're seeking disability benefits. There would be some shop owner give them $20 to go clean and brush the entire area around, basically their store. You get family members who will give them $500, $200, $300, whatever, a month because they had a little extra cash. None of those people have extra cash anymore. Everybody's squeezed in a shit position, which means that the support system, the biggest support system that existed for the homeless, the most detailed, the most organized, right? Families helping people, small businesses helping people, that got destroyed. That was wiped out. And so when that was wiped out over that mass inflation problem, and we knew there's no president that wasn't going to have inflation. Okay, would Trump have modeled a better system based off of a better capitalism model? Would he not have destroyed pipelines in their creation? Would he not have allowed massive purchasing of oil from Russia? I mean, I don't want to be mean about it, but Biden sabotaged our ability to do what we should be doing with gasoline, with diesel, with heavy fuel, with natural gas, with propane. He sabotaged the country. I know you might not think that. I know you might think, oh no, there's a, but he did. And the only reason America has such prominence and scares the shit out of other nations is because that petrodollar allowed us to buy the most expensive, aggressive toys. But if you would take a moment, maybe after this video, maybe after the next video, and research where China is at when it comes to their Navy. Their Navy is pumping out modern Navy ships that are at the point now where they are capable of essentially being a problem for the U.S. Navy. I mean, they are popping out mega ships one a year. We can't keep up with that. We can't keep up with that. And they have massive swarms of these drones that can basically take out power and energy and all that stuff. Did you ever stop and think for a moment about what a future warfare landscape looks like? It's not a giant nuclear bomb dropping. That's not the future landscape of war between nations. That's not it. What it is are basically drones that can take out electrical systems and drones that can take out human beings, right? So the electrical systems, when you lose electricity in an entire state for more than 2 weeks, right? What happens to your water system? What happens to, I know some of you just have a system where there's automatic pressure, and I get it. What happens to your water, getting water into the house? What happens to the food in your fridge and the freezer? What happens to your ability to go to the machine and pull cash out and be able to use it? What happens to your ability to power a vehicle when your 12-volt battery is having a problem? What happens to your ability to go ahead, right, and have lights, have air conditioning, have heat? I mean, you want to make a country suffer and do terrible things to it, you just take out the heat in super, super cold areas. And you take out the AC in super, super warm areas. And then all those disabled and retired that are a special niche group of individuals that are very, very fragile, you've just made them the heaviest weight on the federal government. Not that FEMA's great at rushing in to save the day. I'm not making that argument here. But point is, have you ever thought about that? Like the grid, the power grid, you take that out for an entire state, it goes to shit fast. I'll make a joke for you. Imagine that you are, let's say, California, and you think your bleep doesn't stink, okay? Because a lot of Californians are like that. They think they're really up there. The reality is your state is a total shit show. You are literally constantly in a state of going bankrupt. Some of the rules you come out with are so ridiculous. We laugh at you constantly. There's no way around it. We think you're amazing people, but a lot of your residents have an ego problem. Florida, on the other hand, has the ultimate ego. But I will say this. If the lights go out in California and the lights go out in Florida, who's going to survive longer? Just think about it. We all know Kentucky would. Now, here's the thing, okay? At the end of the day, when it comes to this is a political power move to get basically more politicians to support more, basically government employees. Does it help the majority of you? No, it doesn't. But what we should study is why they spent the time to make this. Why is this important? Why is it relevant? That's the question you have to put your lawyer hat on with, because if you ask yourself that, then you're doing well. Think about this, okay? End of Biden's career. That's what it is. Like, have you ever thought back and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. A lot of people already get that, right? Mentally, he's not there. He's disconnected. It is what it is. Somebody pulled the cord, a couple of years ago. It's just not what it is. So at this point, end of his career, right? He's going traveling from here. He's going to go see the rainforest. He's going to go do this. He's going to go have Mai Tais over there, because this is his final chance to go see the world from a head of state's helicopter, see things that nobody can get access to but the president of the United States and the power that our military holds and why other countries are afraid of us. And that gives him the best vacations anybody can have. But then that's it. At that point, he's stuck to having to go to a bunch of formal dinners, having to go ahead and basically, sit there and clap at parades, sit there and clap at, things that when the horns are blaring, that's his gig. He is there in the future to be present for those particular things. But his career is over. It's done. No more. They're not going to be marching him out like other presidents to go ahead and support candidates. Why? The same reason they will not be marching him out in the future is the exact same reason they didn't march him out with Kamala Harris there, because his presidency didn't go so well. And to be fair, it's a bit of a stain on the Democrats' profile for a future America with change that positively impacts the working class. It's not a good message. His career is ending. If they can get this through the House and Senate, it goes to the president. And it gives the president a beautiful ending to a rocky, not so great presidential, 4 years. But why are they doing this? They're doing this now because they know the economy is in such shit shape that they are not going to be able to get future government employees unless they have ways to build the benefits that they can access. What they're saying with this is, we're taking the fairness we set up in 1977 and 1983 away. They made it more fair. They're taking that away. And they're going more towards the benefit of government employees because they can't get people to sign up, get trained, and stay. This is a mission, an admission that basically they can't get enough employees to work for the government in the way that they need them to. Now, remember, when I say that, I don't just mean any individual. The government requires a certain level of mental integrity, okay? The SSA has been struggling with that. Other agencies have been struggling with that, where some of the individuals that come in, they're not able to do the corporate thing as well as they would like. So they try and train them into this corporate thing and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's tough because culturally, the newcomers coming up, they're not used to corporate. They're not used to that, starched, you have to follow the elemental rule of this and that and follow the procedure. Did you get my email? They're not used to that. So they're having a tough time training them, which means that even the people they do get, they're not doing particularly well with them. The Social Security Administration, which we've talked about before, is at a 50-year low of employment. 50-year low. My point with all this, along with the military having a very difficult time finding anybody to join up, my point with all this, and I think this is incredibly important for you to think about, is that they have to beg the Senate to put a cherry on top of Biden's 4 years, convince more people to sign up for the government, and realistically promise benefits for a future system that is going quasi-bankrupt. That's how shit showy the thing is right now. Like, think about it. They are promising better Social Security benefits, which is a program that's going bankrupt for its trust funds. Not fully bankrupt, just its trust funds, just the things that give people the full 100%. So they'll get, 75%, 80%, whatever, their normal check. They have to sell to future government employees that they're going to give them more for a program that isn't going to be the same in the future. What a shit promise. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, a super thank you to the mega donation that was made all the way at the very beginning by David. He did a $49.99 donation. I really super appreciate that. I am going to go ahead and prep for the next video. You'll see me in about, I would say 15 minutes. The next video is spicy and might get me in a little bit of trouble. It is basically how to counter a hostile, aggressive Social Security disability judge, which a lot of you guys should use because you can use this for other administrative judges as well. Please remember to like. There's 600 something people in here. There's only 175 likes. Hit that like button. Don't be stingy with it. Subscribe, become a member. Also, head over to Google and type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida and throw some stars up there. I go live on Mondays and Thursdays to answer questions for free. And there's a contract below that allows you to go ahead and buy an hour of time with a private session with me where we go through a tough situation you might have. Okay, I will catch you guys in the not too distant future. Give me about 10 minutes and we'll be at the next video, which should be a really good one. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Attorney Walter Hnot, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.